Chosen one, you didn't just stumble here. You were summoned. There's something about you that heaven refuses to ignore. You may not feel it yet, but the fact that you're still breathing, still standing, still fighting when everything in you wanted to quit, that's proof enough that you are not ordinary. You are chosen. There's a reason your path has been heavier than others. There's a reason your nights feel longer and your tests feel sharper. Because what you carry is rare. What's inside you cannot be given to just anyone. You've been trusted with something eternal. And that's why you've been crushed, pressed, and tested beyond what words can explain. But listen closely. You're still here. And that alone is the evidence of your greatness. Others would have folded under half of what you've survived. Others would have walked away when the silence grew loud, when the doors slammed shut, when the tears kept falling. But not you. You stayed planted when the ground shook. You kept your hands clean when bitterness whispered your name. You held on to your faith when everything around you said it was pointless. That's why heaven is watching you with pride right now. You have no idea how much your quiet loyalty moves the heart of God. You have no idea how many battles you've already won just by not quitting. So I need you to feel this. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not behind. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. And everything you've endured up to this point has been preparing you for what's about to break open in your life. Chosen one, this is your moment to declare it. I'm still here, and I'm not going anywhere. So lean in, sit up, wipe those tears, straighten your crown. You are about to find out what all that pain was planting, and why it couldn't happen without you first proving you could be trusted. Get ready. Heaven didn't bring you here to tease you. Heaven brought you here to announce you. Let's step into it, looking for purpose and peace. Hit subscribe and start the journey. You are walking through something no words can explain. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because heaven is trusting you with a weight few could carry. You've stepped into a fire no one else sees, and the silence of it is deafening. This is no ordinary trial. It's not the kind of challenge you post about or ask opinions on. It comes quiet, heavy, and without warning. Yet it is holy, and it has your name on it. Some days it feels like everything's breaking at once. You can't quite put your finger on what's happening. People misread you. Some drift away, assuming you're angry or proud. Others think your quiet is weakness. They don't see what you're really facing. A battlefield that lives deep in your chest, where you fight invisible wars and cry prayers no language can hold. And yet here you are, still standing. You keep showing up. You refuse to bow out when it would be so much easier to disappear. Why? Because what holds you isn't applause. What drives you isn't recognition. You're anchored by something no stage can offer, covenant. This kind of test doesn't come with a study guide. You can't prepare for it on paper. This is the kind of test that uncovers your center. It reveals what you're really made of. The you that clings to God when no one's looking. The you that keeps trusting when every door slams shut. The you that stays rooted when the storm tries to rip you out of the ground. Step beyond the screen. Join and help light the way for others. You didn't come here to impress anybody. You came here to be refined. And that's exactly what's happening. Not to shame you, but to shape you. God isn't punishing you. He's pulling you through a process that burns away what you don't need and fortifies what you do. Old ways of thinking won't survive this. Certain relationships fall away. Habits break. Not because you're cursed, but because you're being set apart. What others don't see is that heaven is taking note. Every tear, every prayer, every act of quiet faithfulness, every night you chose to stay when you wanted to run. This test isn't for them to understand. It's not about proving anything to people. It's about proving who you really are in the spirit. God doesn't care how loud you shout in public if you can't stand firm in private. He's not measuring your ability to speak to a crowd. He's looking at your ability to hear him when no one else is listening. And the beauty of it? You're passing. Not because you're perfect, but because you didn't quit. You're here. You're faithful. And that faithfulness is what heaven records. If your heart overflows with divine love, now is the moment to let it shine. Click the super thank you button on YouTube and give $50 or more to help carry God's light to others. Your gift will bless not only your life, but countless others. You are part of his sacred plan. Your kindness may be the answer to someone's prayer. Share your blessings and honor His kingdom. May His grace guide you always. You stand in a place few can understand, steady when it would feel easier to walk away, faithful even when faith seems to cost you more than it gives. This is the kind of loyalty no applause celebrates and no crowd notices. It is quiet, it is costly, and it is holy. You find yourself serving in spaces that feel cold, pouring into people who never say thanks, clinging to assignments that drain instead of fill. Not because you are afraid to let go, but because you know something deeper is at stake. There are nights you wrestle with leaving. You rehearse how you could bow out gracefully and call it wisdom. But something inside, that unshakable pull you cannot name, whispers, stay. This isn't about your comfort. This is about your covenant. True loyalty doesn't shine when everything goes right. It is proven when nothing makes sense, when the room empties, when silence surrounds you and the door stays shut. You don't stay because it feels good. You stay because you know where you're planted. No one claps for this kind of endurance. Nobody hands out awards for the long nights and the quiet battles. But heaven keeps perfect count. You keep showing up when others would have quit. You stay when gratitude is absent and rewards seem invisible. You stay when every voice in your head suggests you'd be better off somewhere else. And yet, your spirit knows better. Others may misread you. They call you naive. They say you're being taken advantage of. They think you're afraid to move on. But they don't see what anchors you. They don't understand that your willingness to endure is not weakness. It is obedience. This kind of loyalty isn't fueled by ego. It's forged by trust. You aren't held hostage. You are held steady. There's a depth of character that only forms in the soil of perseverance. There's a version of you that only emerges when you refuse to abandon your post. And heaven sees it. When you remain faithful where no one is watching, heaven qualifies you for places everyone will see. When you keep your grip without earthly gain, heaven knows your heart is not chasing a platform. You're chasing His presence. This is why the very loyalty others mock is the same loyalty heaven honors. You don't stay for a reward. You stay for what's right. And the moment is coming when God will make it clear why your faithfulness is never wasted. You carry a kind of restraint that others misread. They assume you are quiet because you're unsure, soft because you don't clap back, fragile because you don't defend yourself. But what they fail to grasp is that your silence is born of discernment, not defeat. You hold the facts. You've seen what they've done, heard what was whispered, felt the sting of your name tossed recklessly in places you never stood. You could clear the air, set the record straight, level the field with one sentence. But you don't. Step beyond the screen. Join and help light the way for others. That choice comes not from fear, but from resolve. You understand some things cannot be fought in public because they're being settled in heaven. You recognize that opening your mouth at the wrong time risks unraveling what's already unfolding beyond your sight. So you stay still. Not seething, not bitter, still. You let their noise echo around you while you remain anchored in something bigger. To outsiders it might look like weakness. To heaven it looks like trust. They don't see the discipline it takes to swallow words when they burn at the edge of your tongue. They don't know the quiet prayers you pray after doors close and tears dry. They won't understand how hard it is to keep your dignity when pride claws for its say. You keep walking anyway, choosing calm over chaos, peace over payback. Not because you're passive, but because you're protective of your calling, your integrity, your alignment. There is a silence that shields you better than 1,000 arguments. A silence that becomes its own testimony. A silence so potent it shames lies without ever naming them. You don't stay quiet because you lack words. You stay quiet because you know your words aren't needed. The same God who sees your patience is already arranging vindication. What you resist shouting today, He plans to demonstrate tomorrow. Not through petty revenge, but through undeniable favor. There will come a time when the tables turn. The rooms where your name was mishandled will become the rooms where it is honored. The same hands that tried to harm you will have to watch as blessings unfold without their permission. Because your silence isn't a void, it's a weapon. It declares that you trust the author of your story more than the opinions of the audience. If your heart overflows with divine love, now is the moment to let it shine. Click the super thank you button on YouTube and give $50 or more to help carry God's light to others. Your gift will bless not only your life, but countless others. You are part of His sacred plan. Your kindness may be the answer to someone's prayer. Share your blessings and honor His kingdom. May His grace guide you always. One day they will see what your silence preserved. One day they will understand the wisdom in your restraint. When heaven finally speaks on your behalf, it will drown out every lie, heal every wound, and reveal why staying quiet was never weakness, but strength waiting for its moment. You carry something rare, tears that speak louder than words, tears that heaven reads like a book. Those moments when you sit in the quiet and feel your chest tighten, when hot drops fall before you even know why, when it feels like your heart splits in two. Those are not weakness. They are sacred. Each tear sliding down your face tells a story too deep to put into sentences. Each one is a testimony that you keep showing up when nobody claps, that you keep believing when nothing makes sense, that you keep holding on when the weight nearly flattens you. No one else sees the nights you bury your face in your hands. No one hears the cries muffled in your pillow. No one notices the times you bite your lip to stop from sobbing in front of others. But heaven notices. Heaven does not just see your tears. It collects them, counts them, blesses them. You feel like you're breaking, but you're really being softened so something greater can grow through you. Your pain is loosening ground that has been too hard for anything to take root until now. The tears you shed in secret are watering the very soil your next season is going to sprout from. People might assume you're unraveling, but God knows better. He knows you're opening up. He knows the seed cannot blossom unless it cracks. He knows what looks like collapse is actually surrender, and that surrender is exactly what He needs to shape you into who you are becoming. Your tears are not random. They are not in vain. They are not just falling to the floor. They are sowing into your assignment. The grief you carry in private is actually preparing your heart for the weight of the blessing coming your way. You keep getting up. You keep showing kindness. You keep choosing faith over bitterness. Even when you feel emptied out, you keep putting one foot in front of the other. That is strength heaven honors. Strength the world cannot measure because it has nothing to do with applause. The pain you feel has been quietly nourishing a future you cannot yet see. Every tear has been softening the corners of your heart, making you tender enough to carry what others would drop, patient enough to steward what others would squander. You are closer than you think. The very ground you soaked with quiet anguish is about to bloom with evidence that your suffering was never wasted. Flowers are coming where you wept. Joy is growing where you mourned. What you've endured will not just fade away. It will bear fruit. And when that harvest comes, you will see that every tear was a seed, planted, watered, and remembered. And the bloom will be beautiful, having done all to stand. Ephesians 6 verse 13. Sometimes life feels like you're the last tree standing in a storm, bent, battered, and stripped bare, but still rooted. You've seen the winds whip through your world, watched others topple around you, and felt like your own branches would snap. But here you are, still planted, still reaching upward, still alive. Chosen one, let me tell you something. Heaven has not missed a single moment of your endurance. Not one tear has hit the ground without being seen. Not one quiet prayer has floated up without being heard. The Lord Himself has kept you upright when everything else seemed determined to push you over. You've carried a kind of quiet grit that only the Spirit can give. You've walked through nights so dark you couldn't see your own hands. Yet somehow you never let go of God's. You've endured losses others would have used as an excuse to quit. You've been passed over, lied on, laughed at, and yet you kept walking. See, the people looking at your life from the outside, they don't understand the fight inside you. They see broken pieces. God sees building blocks. They see empty rooms. God sees a sanctuary under construction. To them it might look like you've lost, but heaven already declared you victorious because you didn't let the weight take you under. Some start this journey with fire in their eyes, full of ambition and plans. They show up when the sun shines and the harvest is easy. But when the winds shift and the earth shakes, they disappear into the shadows. But you quietly, humbly you stay. Not because you feel invincible, not because you always understand what God is doing, but because you have a faith that's stubborn enough to outlast the storm. You remind me of Noah building his ark while everyone else mocked him, of Job sitting in ashes, but still refusing to curse God, of Paul singing in chains at midnight. What they all had, what you have, is a spiritual backbone no trial could break. You've been called stubborn, but God calls it steadfast. You've been called naive, but God calls it faith. You've been told you're wasting your time, but God knows you're investing in eternity. Even when grief sat heavy on your chest, you still whispered his name. Even when the night stretched so long you forgot what morning felt like, you still believed it would come. Even when you felt emptied out, you still showed up. That kind of faith moves heaven. That kind of faith scares hell. So here's the promise. All those nights you thought you were unseen, they were sacred. All those mornings you got up anyway, they were counted. All those prayers you prayed through clenched teeth and wet cheeks, they're stored in God's hands. You are not standing here today because you're lucky. You're standing because you're chosen. You're standing because heaven put something inside you the storm couldn't wash away. You're standing because when others ran, you dug deeper. So keep standing, chosen one. The winds may still blow, but your roots have only grown stronger. The people who left, the doors that closed, the nights that broke you, all of it was shaping you into someone unshakable. And now, just like that tree in the storm, you're not just surviving anymore, you're thriving. You're about to bear fruit that others can't explain. You're about to see why the winds came, why the soil broke open, why you had to stay when everyone else walked away. You've passed the test of endurance, and heaven is about to reward you for not falling when it would have been easier to lie down. Keep those roots deep. Keep those hands lifted. Keep that faith stubborn, because what's coming is going to make every storm worth it. The world may say you've lost, but the truth is you've outlasted. Through every test, you've grown sharper, more resilient, more anchored. You carry scars, but those scars prove you survived what others surrendered to. You were never being punished. You were being prepared. Every battle you thought was meant to crush you was actually teaching you how to stand taller. Every heartbreak, every delay, every betrayal, none of it wasted. And now, because you refused to quit when everything screamed at you to stop, heaven is ready to lift you higher. This next season is not about who made the most noise. It's about who stayed the course when no one was watching. You're still here, not because you had all the answers, but because God held you steady when your strength ran out. You're not here by luck. You're here by grit and grace. What's coming next is your reward, not for being perfect, but for being faithful. You outlast what tried to undo you, and heaven is about to show why the ones who endure in silence are the ones God crowns in the open. You carry a quiet kind of faith that the world often overlooks. What you sow in secret, what you endure in silence, what you give when no one claps, it all matters more than you realize, even when it feels invisible, even when gratitude never comes and your name is left out of the stories. It is not forgotten where it counts. You pour yourself into tasks no one thanks you for. You show up to places you could have walked away from. You carry burdens no one else volunteers to lift. And when it seems your prayers hit the ceiling, you still whisper them anyway. It can feel like all you get in return is more waiting, more questions, more empty rooms. But what you cannot see is that nothing you plant in faith goes unnoticed. While others look for spotlight and recognition, you've been building something heaven keeps track of. Those nights you stayed awake interceding for people who would never know. Those moments you swallowed your pride and kept your hands clean. Those choices to stay pure in a world that rewards compromise. They are all counted. There is a book kept open with your name on it. Not just recording what you did, but how you did it. The posture of your heart. The surrender behind your actions. Every time you put your assignment above your feelings. Every time you chose love over offense. Every time you carried yourself with dignity even in mistreatment. It was written down. You may not have an audience now, but heaven sees everything. Not just watching but measuring. Not just observing but storing. Every tear, every offering, every prayer, every act of obedience becomes a deposit toward what is coming next. And what is coming cannot be mistaken for luck or chance. This is not a hand-me-down blessing, not something you hustle to earn. What is about to open in front of you has already been calculated. a deliberate response to years of quiet integrity. People might assume you just caught a break, but what's really happening is that justice is catching up with your faithfulness. God does not ignore the loyalty you showed when no one returned it. He does not overlook the discipline you held when others quit. You are about to walk into rooms you didn't ask for and receive opportunities you couldn't have engineered. Not because you made the right connections, but because you stayed in the right position. You don't have to fight for your place. You don't have to defend your name. You don't have to prove what you carry. The record is already settled. What heaven has written cannot be erased. And now it's time for the pages to turn. The tables will shift. The favor will find you. The doors will open. And those who doubted you will have no choice but to see that you were being prepared all along. You do not need applause. You do not need to shout. You just need to keep standing, because the score is already kept, and your victory has already been decided. You are the kind of soul that doesn't just endure storms. You are shaped by them, even when your feet feel heavy and your mind questions the path. Something in you keeps moving forward. What you just walked through wasn't about checking boxes or proving yourself to people. It was about proving your trust where it really counts. This wasn't a test you could prepare for. No checklist or map to follow. This was the kind of refining that happens when no one is watching. The kind that strips away ego and reveals what's anchored beneath the surface. When the easy way tempted you, you chose faith anyway. When the room turned cold, you stayed kind. When silence pressed in, you kept listening. It wasn't about impressing anyone. It was about keeping your heart clean when bitterness would have been easier. About keeping your hands steady when walking away would have been simpler. About keeping your eyes fixed on what can't be seen, even when the weight on your shoulders begged you to stop. What you carried quietly became an offering. What you endured privately became a seed. And every time you chose character over comfort, you were being prepared, not for a stage, but for a seat at a table only God could set. This next chapter doesn't arrive because you pushed hard enough or played your cards right. It arrives because heaven already wrote it. Because you showed you could be trusted with the kind of favor no one else can manufacture. You've been learning the kind of obedience that isn't loud. The kind of loyalty that doesn't quit when the lights go out. The kind of posture that stays low so God can lift high. Now everything shifts. Not because you hustle harder, but because you've been hidden long enough. Not because of connections, but because of covenant. What's about to unfold isn't about proving anyone wrong. It's about revealing what was true all along. Your faith, your patience, your quiet surrender, they've all been counted. The depth you cultivated in the shadows is about to be displayed in the light. The very things you carried without recognition are about to speak for you, not to punish others, but to glorify the one who carried you here. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to justify the waiting. You don't have to fight for a place. Your endurance has already made room for you. Now the season you've been praying for meets the character you've been building. What begins here won't just elevate you. It will vindicate the journey. The doors swing. The chains drop. The reward comes, not as a surprise to heaven, but as the next line in a story already written. This is not the start of a climb. This is the unveiling of what was growing all along. Stay steady. The one who saw you in secret is about to show you in the open.